Hi everyone, Dennis and Steve. We've just been in the studio for like the last couple hours, and I'm going to be doing a lot of traveling. So Steve's going to start giving our demos, and I wanted to break him in on the use of the crossover for the subs, as we have two 10s in the back of the room, and we have the ability to cross. We have electronic crossover here, and then we have, a band. I call it fattening and thinning, but basically, you change the wave grouping, and you can fatten it, the crossover point up. You can thin it down, and it's just two controls. It's not that difficult, but you do have to work with it a while and do a few songs, but when you get a hold of it and you use it, you pretty much keep it in the system most of the time. There's some songs that you'll take it out because they have plenty of low end on their own, but the crossover has a circuit that you can take it out. For you gear guys out there, this is a JL audio system with two 10s in the back, and I think one of the cool things about it is that you can't localize the low energy. It's through the whole room.
Absolutely, yeah. It stays mono at the same time, and the fat frequency, whatever what we're calling it, the fat frequency.
Yeah,
it's very cool because I felt like it was going from stereo to mono, where you can really drive it, and obviously you can use your ears and tell, okay, well that's too much, but what it's doing, it's filling in the room for me. And you're like, okay, well, let's back it up a little bit. And as you back up, it kind of becomes more of a pillow mono effect. And every song's different, and it's but it's blatantly obvious when you bypass it.
Yes,
you miss it, and it doesn't always have to be low end necessarily, which is also, you're only controlling 30 to 150 hertz. But I swear when the vocal song, or whatever song with the hi-hat we had on, it brightened it up, and I don't think there wasn't a EQ boost in like the high-end frequencies, but there was just more space, almost like reverb or something like that. You just heard it. You heard the splashing of it, and even the attack of the release, if that makes sense, of the hi-hat, like kind of sucking off of each other. And then you bypass it, and it still sounded amazing, but it just bring out the cymbals all of a sudden. I wasn't even listening to the low end.
Was that Max?
Hyde.
That's Hyde. He's a young bulldog, so he's now over by the microphone stand, or by the video camera stand, so if he bumps it, you get a little jar, you'll know what he's doing. Now he's got the cord caught in his tail. Yeah, he's something. He loves to get into everything, but he's young. Yes, you are. So, isn't it nice to be able to control the subwoofers in a listening room?
Absolutely. I tend to always EQ, and I think I shouted this out at you too. I tend to EQ out the mid-range, specifically, 250 area to 400. I feel like that's a lot of my problem areas, and I actually hate that because the mid frequencies are so important for so many things, especially vocals. And with this system, it was the opposite. I was able to actually kind of EQ those lower registers, as opposed to taking it away and, trying to live with my room. But it was a new concept. It was EQing low end, and I usually just I'm very cautious and safe with it. Because I know the parameters I have to work with. So
yeah,
it was it was interesting, yeah.
But isn't it cool that you can do that the room responds?
The room definitely responds, especially when I was referring to the mono stereo effect. You obviously feel the SPL of the room just getting heavier, and the attack and decay of the kicks and whatever's in that register. You start to feel it, and sometimes it's too much, and you can almost feel the room like reaching its threshold.
Loading. Yeah.
And that's all it is. It's a threshold, and you dial it back and forth to your liking, and it's very musical and fun. It's not tedious.
We had an engineer the other day, and he said, this room has a lot of headroom.
Mm-hmm.
You have a lot of
headroom in the low end.
In the low end
Yeah.
and all the way up. You know, you got this wide band you can work in the playback mode. You're not plugging anything directly into a board.
No.
This is raw acoustical power.
I'm thinking it was up at like 95 decibels when we were listening. Obviously, that's a lot. but
92.
92. And it held it together. You know, when you get that 92 area, you start feeling the room a little bit, and it gets a lot smaller than you think it is, you know?
Yeah. But it
feel
holds tight. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it holds real tight. And that's the nice thing about the carbon, because it gets you that tightness there. But
Yeah, tightness too. It is tight. You feel the sweep, so to speak. It's not sub, and then all of a sudden you're hearing some first order.
you
harmonics,
actually
you know?
can feel the wave oscillating in the room.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yes, and that's very cool.
You could watch it on your phone too. You see it just.
Yeah, you can see it. Yeah,
It has
we
its
did
own-
we ran an RTA at the same time and took some real time measurements so you could see. So, you know, the crossover, you know, can have an impact up to 5 dB sometimes in certain frequencies.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a lot of control when you're in a room where the resolution power of the room is less than 1 dB.
Yeah.
So, I mean, a 5 dB turn of the knob is very noticeable, and it's nice to have that kind of control. But you only get that control if your room can handle the low frequency energy.
And this room is flat. You
Yeah.
take this out, and you hear a flat EQ. You don't hear room modes in the common 60, 80, 90, 100 hertz areas. It's flat as hell. So when you're, that's why this crossover is so great. It's a great, I'm guessing it's a great company, but you know, you don't have to do 5 decibel increments to hear it actually working. You can just subtly kind of bring it in and subtly bring it out. And I actually like this concept because I actually use digital EQs a lot, 5-band and 7-band, and I tend to just go straight to the mids and cut out and sweep a lot. And this one was cool because your parameters are smaller, so you have less to work with. But initially I started off with just bumping the low end. And then once I realized what was actually in the room and what I had to manage on it, I like to go the polar opposite, go right to 150, and all of a sudden the vocals pop out, and you almost kind of compress the low end into a narrow band or wide band sub situation. Again, in 5 decibel increments. I mean, it never got out of control. And when you turn it off, it was significantly audible and noticeable. So,
Well, on the mids and highs in this room, you can hear the speaker distort before the room distorts.
yeah, yeah.
You can, because, you know, the room is, you know, better than they are in terms of that dimension. But the low end is always the true test. You know, obviously the resolution in the low end is always the true test. But when I first got this, you know, I wanted more low end in this room, mainly to experiment with. I didn't need it for the room design, and I'd still like to put a couple more 12s in here, but probably won't have the time right now to do that. But the bottom line is the fact that you can move the energy in a way in the room that you're not localizing the subs behind you. You're not localizing the low frequency in front of you. It's all smooth and there.
Yeah, I'm not hearing the fact that it's right 3 feet to my left and right at all.
I know.
It's centered imaged or stereo imaged. It's great.
Yeah, yeah. Well, this is probably the first time on the playback side you've had a chance to mess with a low-end EQ. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, I was dialing in on 110, 120 hertz every time just because I don't have that in my room. There was like a 10, 15 decibel null in my room. It's terrible.
Oh, but so you can hear it here.
I can hear it.
Yeah.
It's, you know, it's not blowing my mind, but I'm
there.
like, wow, okay, I feel the full frequency spectrum. I don't feel like I'm in a bubble that's about to pop.
Yeah.
And that's what happens in those areas for me. Mm-hmm. It's you've never been in a flat room before until you're sitting here, honestly.
Yeah, it'll make you a better engineer.
It was so fun to do that. I mean, you get, I think as a mix engineer and engineer, whatever I want to call myself, it's, to be able to have control over something and be able to dial in and just confidently know what's happening in the room. It takes you 10 seconds, not 10 seconds. It takes you about 2 minutes to really let your ears settle in. I always like to start with that bypass to hear the room first. And you can guess in decibels and frequencies what's going on at all times. And that's a luxury, because I think a lot of times I know I'm exposed to the opposite, which is you have to know the room so that you can compensate, which sucks,
Work around.
Yeah, it's a workaround.
Yeah.
You got to be good at both, but
that's awful tiring. It would seem like to me.
It takes just longer, unfortunately. It takes longer for rhythm sections to get grooving, and that's where it lives, So you can fake it all you want, but when you dialed in and when you're not, and
Don't have to fake in this room.
Don't have to fake it. That's the easiest way.
Almost you can't.
No.
A lot of people that play in here say, geez,
yeah, I
got to pay attention in this room. So one bass player said, geez, I better wake up, pay attention. So it would turn out good. Well, thanks, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Appreciate your comments. I hope you enjoyed our videos today, and if you did, we really would appreciate a thumbs up from you. If you have any questions or comments, you can go to the comment section, or you can go to our website, acousticfields.com, and fill out the contact form. Subscribe to our channel, our YouTube channel. We're now doing 2 videos a week. If you have some ideas for topics, you can submit those to us also. If you're having room issues, we have that free room analysis. You can click on the button below, and we'll compare your room to our database of 120 built rooms that we built and actually measured, and I guarantee you your room is in that database. So just click on the button below for the free room analysis. Thank you.